Hi everybody, today we're going to learn how to make a cloth mask, and this is going to be only for personal use only. For that you're going to need a pair of scissors, eraser, pencil, a ruler, and some paper so you can make your patterns. And you know, not everybody might have elastic in their house, but you can use hair ties, or you can actually just make it with the same cloth that you're gonna make your mask. So I have these shiny elastic in my house, which I'm gonna be using. You're gonna use pins. You're gonna use the fabric. I happen to have these like blue cotton woven fabric in my house, so I'm gonna use that. So let's begin. Okay, so let's begin by making the pattern. For that, we're going to be needing a rectangle of 6 inches by 9 inches. So with that, you can use whatever paper you have in your house. Even if you have newspapers, that's actually good. It's all about reusing what we have. So let's begin. We can just measure 9 inches on the bottom of your paper and then make a mark. And then measure 6 inches up on the edge of your paper, then measure 6 inches up on the other mark, and then you make a line where the two 6 inches marks meet. Along this line, then you're gonna make a mark of 9 inches. There. And then you connect the two 9 inches marks, one on the top and one on the bottom. There we go. So for this one, we don't need to mark the seam allowance, but our seam allowance is going to be a 1/4 inch. We just need to cut this pattern so we can cut the fabric. That's it. Hi. Now the next step will be to actually cut our fabric. So there's a couple of ways that we can do it. I happen to have 2 pieces of fabric, right? So what I can do, I can put face to face my 2 fabrics, and then I can just put my pattern on top. Or if you don't have 2 pieces of fabric like these separate and you only have like a piece big enough, then you can just fold it up face to face, and then you can cut this way, which is what I'm gonna do. So once my fabric is folded, make sure that it's face to face. Then we have to pin our pattern in the fabric. So just grab your pins, and then just do one in the corner. Then let's do the other corner in the bottom. And this fabric is very hard to pin. And then one more in the corner. If you feel comfortable putting more pins, that's fine. I just need 1 pin on each corner. That will be steady enough for me to cut this fabric. If you have a fabric that is slightly thinner and then shifts a lot, I recommend that you actually put 1 in each center of each side of the rectangle, and that will stabilize your pattern and your fabric. So now we can cut. I should be using my fabric scissors, and that will be easier. But not everybody has fabric scissors in their house, so I'm just showing how it's done with just regular paper scissors. Okay, now we have our 2 patterns. We can just remove the pins, put them back in its place so they don't get loose. So now we have our 2 face to face. I'm gonna mark them so I know which one is my face, because this fabric is dark and it's kind of difficult to recognize that. So now I put my marks. Okay, on to the next step. Okay, the next step will be to cut our elastic. We have to cut 2 7-inch pieces. So you can use your ruler, or in this case, I'm just going to use my tape measurement because I love it. So I just measure 7, then I cut 1, and then I just use this one exactly to measure the other one. So they are both the same size. Now we have our ear ties. Hi. So the next step will be to pin our fabric face to face together and our ear ties in between the two fabrics before we go into sewing. These will help us have more control on the sewing machine. So I'm going to separate my two pieces. I know that these are my face ups. So what I have to do is I have to place each one of these ends on one of the corners, like that, and then like this. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to place my other piece of fabric face to face, and I am going to pin the elastic between the two faces of fabric. So when I'm sewing, this is easier. So I have one there. Make sure you grab the elastic and the two corners of the fabric. It's a bit hard to pin this because the elastic, at least mine, is very hard, but it can be done. Then let's do the other side. So you see, we put corner to corner, and then we sandwich in between, and then we pin them, the 3 layers together. Like that, and the last one. So see, you have, and then on the corner, and then we pin it together. Not so much, but it can be done. Okay, got that. Now I'm also gonna pin in between each corner, so my fabric doesn't move that much now that there's elastic in between. Make sure your fabrics are edge to edge, like that. And then I'm gonna do one more here. And one last one on my last side. Now I have all of my pieces pinned together. Okay, now let's go sew. Hi everybody, so it's now time to sew our mask. I have an industrial sewing machine, but you don't need to have an industrial sewing machine to do this. You can actually use any home sewing machine that you have in your house, or if you're really good at hand sewing, you can even do that. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to start sewing on the 9-inch side, but I'm going to start sewing around 2 inches because we need to leave a gap of 2 inches between this side, because we have to turn the mask inside out. So this part, it's not going to be sewn. So let's start sewing from this point, okay? Let's do it. And our seam allowance is 1/4. So use your guiding marks to do it. I'm going to get the computer closer so you guys can see. Maybe the light. Okay. I'm going to back that so it's secure. So before you get to the end, the pin, remember, always remove them. You don't want to sew on top of a pin because it might jump into your head or your face, or It can be extremely dangerous, so let's be super careful. So when you're approaching the elastic, you can actually slow down. So you make sure that you grab the elastic and the 2 pieces of fabric. So let's do it. And then I want to back tack a little bit so it's more secure. And then once you got to the corner, then we flip to the other side. And then that we go straight down. Make sure, okay, I did something that you should have not done. I sew on top of the pin, but let's not do that again. I'm about to get close to the other pin, so I'm just going to remove it again in case I forget. Make sure you're grabbing the elastic and back tag. And then when you're done, just turn to the other side. Okay, my pin is out. So I didn't have a pin here in this corner, but I just want to make sure that I'm grabbing it, the 3 layers. And there you go. Now I'm backing. And then let's turn around. 1/4 again. My pin is out before I sew on top of it. My pin is out. Let's make sure that I grab the elastic. And then I back tag. And then I turn around. Then I continue sewing 1/4. And remember, let's leave around 2 inches on the top so we have enough space to turn inside out our cloth mask. And then I back tack, and then that's it. I pull, I cut, remove my last pin. Make sure you trim out all of the loose threads so you have a nice piece. Okay. It's going to be a very colorful mask. The other thing that you can do is you can trim the edges, the corners, so you have like a nice, when you flip it, it's not as bulky as it is. Don't cut the elastic, just the fabric. Okay, so now I have all of my trims, my corners trimmed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to press this and then turn around. Okay, so we have our piece and we're just going to give a quick, very quick press with some steam, and then that's it. That's going to help us stabilize the fabric, and then we can turn it. So now that we're done sewing, it should look like this. You should have the gap in between of about 2 inches, and every side of the mask is stitched. So what we're going to do is now we're going to flip it inside out. So we just very gently bring everything through that gap. Right? So now we see our ear ties coming out. And try to use your finger to pull every corner out as much as you can. Right? Like this. And then let's do the other side. Where's the opening? Here. So let's try to use our fingers to pull every corner. And the last one over here. Okay, there we go. So now I want to use something sharp to pull my corners even more. I mean, I have a screwdriver. You can use a pen, you can use a pencil, whatever works, but let's just try to pull our corner as much as we can. Right, the next one. Just push, just make sure you don't push hard enough so you break or make a hole, right? Put some pressure, but be gentle. And a little bit more. And then that's it. Okay, so now we have one more step done. Now let's do our pleats. So before we do our pleats, let's just give it another quick steam. So it's nice and flat. Very quickly. There you go. So now it's nicely pressed. So now we're gonna do our pleats. And for that, we have to do 3 pleats that are like about 1/2 inch to 1 inch in each side. So it's always tricky to do these because you have to make sure that they are all of the same size. Right. This is a tricky part. So once you have the 3 pleats more or less the same width, then let's go ahead and pin each one of them so they don't move around. And it's gonna be hard because it's fabric, it's really hard to pin. So 1, and let's pin the other one. So see, it's like 3. So I'm gonna put this in the second one. Make sure you don't stab yourself. So that's 2. And then my third pleat. You can change them a little bit if you're not satisfied, which I'm not 100% satisfied with these. Do this one again. Looks better. And then looks better. Take your time with these, you know, it's not super easy, and it won't be done on the first time. So these are my 3 pleats. So now I'm gonna try to do the same on the other side, which is easier because automatically it folds into that position. Just wants to replicate the fabric on the other side. So you can pin it. Okay. So that's the second one, and then the last one. Some fabrics might be easier to pin. Mine is a bit stiff, so that's why it's a bit harder. But some fabrics are thinner. Okay, so there we go. 3 pleats on each side. So now, time to sew. Okay, so now we're gonna sew a 1/4 inch all around. Okay, and remember that there was a gap right here. So just make sure that when you're top stitching that, this is close. So let's begin. For me, it's gonna be really hard because there's a lot of layers on the pleats and my fabric is kind of stiff and thick, but we should go slowly so we don't have any issues. And remember, we have to remove the pins before we sew on top of it. So here, my first pin is out. So I'm gonna start a 1/4 inch and I'm gonna back tack so it's stronger. I'm gonna remove my second pin. You can go as slow as you want, as long as you feel comfortable. I'm gonna remove my third pin. Once you get to the corner, just make sure to back tag. Just don't sew all the way to the edge of the other side. Just sew until about a 1/4, because in a 1/4 you're gonna turn around to sew the other side. So then sew this to a 1/4. Make sure that you don't grab any of the pleats. You're just stop stitching on the 2 layers. Don't sew all the way to the other side. Just stop at about a 1/4 inch and then flip. Remove your pin. Then top stitch and back tag so it's strong. Remove your pin. Remove your last pin. And then don't go all the way to the corner. Stop at a 1/4 inch and then flip. And then that's it. So now that we have top stitch our 3 pleats and all around, let's just flatten up our pleats and press them so they stay in place. And we're good. So now it's all pressed. Hi everybody, you've completed your face mask. It should take about 15 to 20 minutes. It really depends on the sewing skills, but the more you make, the faster you can become. So as you can see, we have this nice square, but then you open it up and it's big enough for your face, and this covers your whole nose all the way down to your chin. So there you go, you've completed a mask.